Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's live coverage of Hurricane Helene. There we go. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's coverage of Hurricane Mellissa as it continues its deadly track across the Caribbean this evening. My name is meteorologist Joseph Pisani. Great to have you guys here on the live stream tonight. We have a lot to talk about, impacts across Jamaica. We're also going to be joined here in just a moment by our other team members, Rob Salso and Stephen Jones. They'll be joining us here for the discussion. If you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like this video, share it with a friend, get the word out. A lot of impacts that we have seen today with Mellissa, and impacts still ongoing across much of Jamaica, and we're going to be keeping an eye on it across Cuba. Rob and Steven, great to have you guys here on the program. Can you hear me, guys?
Sure can.
Awesome. Great to have you guys on. All right, so let's take a deep dive into what we've got going on right now with Hurricane Mellissa as it is churning here now off the northern coast of Jamaica, and it is approaching eastern Cuba here this evening. We are expecting a second landfall likely later this evening through the overnight hours. I mean, what a day it has been, guys.
Yeah. It's
I
been
mean,
quite the day.
yeah, I mean, third strongest hurricane ever, strongest hurricane to ever hit Jamaica, Category 5, 185 mile per hour winds. The pressure did get down to sub 900, like we were talking about last night. Absolutely, devastated the Black River area, Treasure Beach, all these different areas here that have been completely impacted here. As you can see here, thanks Rob for pulling that up. So here you can see the center of the storm now has moved offshore of Jamaica. It is still a major hurricane. What's the latest advisory, Rob?
Okay, so as of 8 p.m., which was about an hour ago, is currently a Category 3, I believe. Max sustained winds at 125, moving north-northeast at 8, pressured up to 950.
Wow. One thing that's going to be different about this from our other storm, Rob, is when it's coming here ashore of Cuba, we don't really have, like we did here in Jamaica, we don't have the storm chasers and the different live feeds. I'm sure there will be some stuff on YouTube that you'd be able to find. But I don't know of any storm chasers or anything that's there in Cuba. They are under that hurricane warning, which does continue. And like you said, the last few scans, I mean, we're definitely starting to see that eye really try and redevelop, kind of trying to get a little bit of a clear slot to it here, really in just those last couple scans. Really almost like a little pinhole eye again. Yeah. Even a little bit smaller than that, starting to form there, where you got that bright blue banding there. That's really your new eye wall kind of trying to form there. So I don't, with the increase in forward speed and stuff like that, I don't think that this is going to really strengthen a whole lot between now and landfall, but I also don't think it's going to lose a whole lot of steam either until it really starts interacting with those mountains of Cuba there in eastern Cuba.
Yeah.
Beyond Cuba, there's a lot of wind shear too that's going to run into.
Oh yeah, I could show you guys that if you'd like to. Me
Yeah.
too. All right, so let me get this up here. I'm not sure if you could see what I'm showing here.
Yeah. Yeah. We see
Uh,
it.
So as you can see, if you see these red contours, that is the higher shear that it's going to run into as it goes north-northeast. As it gets up, you have this trough that kind of digs down here, and it's going to help lift Mellissa up north into the northeast. So that's the big reason why we're not going to see any U.S. interaction is because of that trough. And
Mm-hmm.
once it really lifts up here, there's a lot of higher shear that's going to break it apart, limiting its development and strengthening.
That's an excellent analysis there, Rob.
Thank you.
Let me pull this out. We've got a couple questions here in the chat. Glad that the pressure has gone up. Yeah, heart goes out to Jamaica. What is the temperature of the water between Cuba and Jamaica?
Let's take a look here.
Yeah, let's pull up those that sea surface temperature. We can grab that for you guys.
Okay. Looks like right now
about 84. Yeah.
85 degrees. Yeah.
So
excellent question there.
Not much difference till it gets beyond Cuba.
Right.
Yeah, I mean it's basically the same. Yeah, once it gets north of Cuba, kind of that's where you're down closer to 82 and 79 and 80 closer to Bermuda and stuff like that. So, but really, even look at that 85 there, right offshore of southern Cuba. So that's why I'm saying I don't think that this is going to really weaken a whole lot between now and our landfall here across eastern Cuba later this evening.
Right.
So to recap where we're at right now, hold up one second, my thing's loading. Still Category 3 hurricane.
Correct.
We are expecting damaging winds to continue over portions, especially of northern Jamaica this evening. We're also going to see a lot of flooding and landslides expected across the island tonight. A widespread infrastructure damage, continued power and communication outages, cut off roads with the flooding. Haiti and Dominican Republic. I think Haiti and DR aren't necessarily getting enough coverage on this. Haiti, especially Western Haiti there, seeing some catastrophic flash flooding and landslides still ongoing across southwestern Haiti, southern portions of the Dominican Republic. Can you zoom out real quick, Rob?
Yeah.
Because you can see, keep going. You can kind of see these feeder bands moving there across moving right across the southwest portion there of Haiti and southern portions of the Dominican Republic, and the mountainous terrain there. I mean, those are huge mountains there in that area. So tropical storm conditions still going to be ongoing today and even into tomorrow there across parts of that. Now, as we get up here into eastern Cuba, I mean, they are going to really, I think, be seeing a lot of the heavy rainfall and flash flooding. That's going to begin here tonight, especially into the overnight. Landslides. They're also going to get a good bit of storm surge as well. They're probably already starting to take place there across eastern Cuba, especially as that center of that storm approaches. Let's kind of take a look closer at where we're thinking this is going to come ashore, Rob.
Yeah, so it looks like the eye is kind of on the right side of this track here. We were seeing a lot of that once it got over Cuba here. It looks like from what I'm seeing, I'm thinking landfall anywhere from south of Sierra Maestra all the way east to portions of Santiago de Cuba or El Cobre, maybe even like these areas, Boca des Rios, Acerado, El Valparaiso, all these low-lying area and mountainous
Yeah.
areas definitely going to be seeing the brunt of that storm surge and high hurricane force winds, even more inland too. So
Yep. I think the eastern side of is going to be getting a lot of high winds since they're going to be on the right side of that storm.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, for sure.
Guantanamo as well. They've been talking a lot about that area.
And let's I'm going to switch scenes here real quick on you, Rob, because we've talked about the topography and the role that can play across the area, and with Jamaica being such a having such mountainous terrain, I think that's going to really be making a pretty big impact here across this area. So let me show our viewers the topographic map here of the area. So this here that we're looking at, we can see here. Let me share my screen here so you guys can see what I'm looking at. There we go. So this is right here. There's Guantanamo. So you can see here kind of where we're expecting it. There are these huge mountain peaks here right along the coast where this is kind of expected to come ashore. Right there where Rob was talking about. There's this big mountain range right here along the coast, and then once it gets over those mountains, it kind of levels out. And then there's some more mountains here again in eastern Cuba. But if this thing comes ashore right here, kind of in this part of the mountainous region where we have these highest peaks, over, what, 4,000 foot peaks in some of these places, that's going to be really cause a lot of extensive flooding in these places there in eastern Cuba as it comes across. Now, in this storm, it has not moved in a straight line at all, as Rob was just discussing. Definitely hasn't been moving in a straight line. So, basically, let me move this over here for you guys. Can you see that?
Yeah, I can see it.
So, wow, that eye really is starting to develop there again.
You got a little bit of a record that I'd like to talk about that happened this morning.
Yeah.
So Mellissa has made a record driest eye on record with a negative 2.67 Celsius temperature.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of warm, dry air. And when it was coming in landfall, believe it or not, that eye was, I believe, just, I think it was 17 miles across.
Yeah, something like that.
17, 18 miles, almost 20 miles. I mean, that is huge. It was a pinhole eye, and obviously once it made landfall, it dissipated pretty quick. But then once it has moved off shore, now we're starting to kind of see it redevelop again.
Yeah.
So, greetings, Dan and Mellissa. Great to have you guys here on the live stream with us this evening. What are your guys' thoughts of today? I mean, it's been a historic day, to say the least.
Good evening.
Good evening. I was watching it pretty much throughout the whole day while I was able to. As I was watching it, just kept noticing that it was going a little bit further west, until it finally made landfall there. And southwest Jamaica there. A little further west than I think what most people were expecting.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, last night, we were talking about Black River. We were thinking somewhere kind of between Black River and Alligator Pond around, Treasure Beach. But the fact, and I know I mentioned it last night. I'm like, if this thing ends up going west of Black River, I'm sure the flooding going up that river earlier this afternoon was immense. And those areas that we were looking at last night, were under feet and feet of water.
Well, when I saw it going further west, yes, that was part of the concern, obviously, with the initial landfall. But what I was thinking as soon as I saw that is my mind immediately went to Montego Bay, right?
Yeah.
It's the second largest city in Jamaica.
Yeah.
And then what's going to happen when it makes its way, through land and then the north side of the island for the backside of the second storm surge. And that ended up being a lot closer to Montego Bay than I think they were expecting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Now, it was kind of interesting how basically right as it was coming across land, it for a while it was basically going due north. And then right before it got to Montego Bay, it almost, basically almost shifted, not quite due east, but it was pretty close to a jog to the east, which put Montego Bay really on the western side, which is it's still the eye wall, but it's not quite as the dirty side of the eye wall. So I think in that sense, it could have been worse if it had kept going a little bit further north and gone directly into Montego Bay and not kind of cut off here. Because it basically came up to Cambridge, and then it was coming up toward Ochoe there, and then it kind of skirted across and basically came through Falmouth that we were talking about last night again. And that extreme low elevation, I'm sure that probably got some and even right now these areas are still getting that onshore, especially Montego Bay right now, still getting plenty of onshore flow right now with this thing spiraling here off to the northeast. That's pretty much straight onshore winds coming into Montego Bay that we can see, just spiraling inland.
Yeah, I mean, when I was watching it held Category 5 for most of its land interaction, and I believe it only went, quote-unquote, only Category 4 as it approached Montego Bay. It held together.
Yeah, it was
quite a long time.
It was a solid, 3 hours of being a Category 5 storm over land before it dropped down to a 4, which was really, really impressive. It was almost 3 hours, I think, close to it, maybe just under. So, because it made landfall basically, it was like noon local time, 1 o'clock Eastern time, because you have to remember they're not in daylight savings time like we are. So, and then it was around Montego Bay, I think right around 4 o'clock Eastern, so 3 o'clock local. So, just unbelievable. I didn't get to see it move offshore. I saw it pretty much like you were saying, Dan, right as it was approaching Montego Bay.
Well, she's definitely a fighter.
Go ahead, Mellissa. Speaking about Mellissa.
Yeah. I always wanted a hurricane named Mellissa. I did not want this bad of a hurricane.
I was thinking that. I'm like, I wonder what Melissa's thinking about Mellissa here.
Well, they say most Melissas are indecisive. They're fighters. So, what can I say?
Yeah.
I think this one will probably get retired, though.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt at all about that.
Now, what I haven't had much of an opportunity to is in the last several hours or so really keep up with it. Obviously, I can see the radar here back over approaching Cuba. What is its current strength right now? And I'm sure you covered this before. I know I'm kind of late to the party here.
So it is still a Category 3 hurricane right now. Rob, you have the stats pulled up on it. I think it was
Yes, I do.
950 millibar.
Yeah, it's 950 millibars. Wind speeds are at 127, 125 since that was the last update, and then it's moving north-northeast at 8 miles per hour. So yes, Cat 3.
Okay, that's still pretty significant. Just initial observation here, looking at it now again here for the first time in a little while, in a few hours. Is it just me, or is there more precipitation out ahead of the hurricane now, like to the north than there was before?
Yeah, no, there is. That's an excellent
Oh, yeah.
observation, Dan. What you basically have going on here, really across parts of eastern Cuba, we were talking about those mountains earlier. So what happens, I'll let kind of Steven explain this as our other meteorologist here on the team. What's happening here with this hurricane causing this abundant rainfall here in Cuba, Steve?
Right, having computer issues. So basically, in a nutshell, is the storm can't really stay together. So the I'm trying to think of how to put it without getting too technical. It's basically falling apart once it gets up there. So it's just turning into rain and showers and stuff.
That's because of the mountainous terrain.
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna say that eastern Cuba is pretty mountainous, so I'm imagining a lot of that is a result of this here too.
Yeah, exactly. So as those storm clouds are riding up and over the mountain, think about what happens when storms come in, say, the west coast of the United States, right? You kind of get the Cascades, and water pushes up the mountains, and it has to fall somewhere, right? So it's going to fall right on the other side of those mountains. So that's kind of what's happening here a little bit. And it's interesting, too. You can see this, like some of these big bursts of convection happening. That's that orographic lift that's happening right along the coast here of the mountains, causing, that those stronger thunderstorms to kind of develop right over top of those mountains. And then they kind of move north and then rain themselves out a little bit. So in a sense, Cuba is starting to ring out Mellissa a little bit on the northern side.
I could see that.
Well, and with a lot of that rain out ahead of it, wouldn't that cool it down, and then causing it to weaken some, wouldn't it?
In a sense, but it
would be moving into cooler air.
Yeah, but necessarily with a hurricane, you have to remember it's not necessarily the air that it's moving; it's more the water, because it's a warm core system, unlike a typical low pressure system that's not warm core. But also, the other thing I'm keeping an eye on too is look at the western side of it, right? Kind of like what Steven was talking about earlier tonight, is we're going to start seeing a little bit more a wind shear impact on this. So you can kind of see it's eroding a little bit the western side of the storm a little bit. We're starting to see a little bit of that wind shear erosion starting to, kind of what you were showing Rob earlier as well with that shear map. And we're going to see that kind of continue here over the next, day or so as this kind of moves across Cuba tonight and tomorrow.
It has a lot going against it in a way where it's going to run into mountainous terrain and it's going to run into shear. So that's why I think the Cat 4 at landfall might not be correct, just because of the environmental factors on it.
Yeah, I kind of also agree with you, Rob, too. I don't know if it'll get back up to a 4. Now, obviously, I will say, just even since we've been on this call, this eye here is definitely starting to look a lot more symmetrical again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was noticing that.
It's trying.
So it's definitely trying to get a little bit better organized. You also can see a big flare up of convection here, even in just like the last 10 minutes on the western and a little bit here on the northern side of that eye wall. So I do believe it is going to have some intensification. The question is between here and, the coast. Let's see how many miles that is. Let's throw our measurements on here.
I mean, it's still moving pretty slow too. So
Yeah, I was gonna say if it was faster, it probably wouldn't be a Cat 4 landfall. But because of how slow
we got about 68 miles to the coast there. So
you gotta remember, when it was below Jamaica, it was sitting in the water for a long time. This is a different situation. It's moving
exactly.
a lot faster than it was before.
It's moving 4 times faster, which 8 miles per hour still isn't very fast.
Right.
But compared to 2 miles per hour, big difference.
I think
ahead.
if she comes in as a Cat 4, it's going to be a low Cat 4.
Yeah, I agree.
No, not to look too far ahead, but now once it passes Cuba, it's going to keep continuing to move northeast towards the Bahamas. How much do you think it'll weaken after it gets to the Bahamas, or after it gets past Cuba? And how much will it re-intensify before it gets to the Bahamas? Because opposed to Cuba and Jamaica, the Bahamas, I mean, they're flat. They're like barely above sea level. So it's not going to interact with the Bahamas like it is with Cuba here. Yeah.
Well, one thing we were talking about kind of toward the beginning is the water temperature difference up there is 3 or 4 degrees cooler than what it is down here. Down here we're at about 84 degrees. Up closer to the Bahamas, we're really more like 81, 82. So it is a fairly big temperature difference. Also, as we move forward in time, the wind shear is going to increase. So that's going to displace those thunderstorms, disrupt the circulation more. Cuba's a much bigger landmass than Jamaica was. I mean, we're talking, probably almost at least twice the diameter in size for it to go across. So it is moving faster, but a lot more land interaction, which will really disrupt circulation. So I think it comes off possibly as a 2. Either a low end 3 or a high end 2 coming off of Cuba. And I don't think it gets back up above really. I don't see a whole lot of re-intensification per se across the Bahamas, mainly not necessarily because of what, mainly because of the wind shear. I think it's gonna really get a little torn up going across Cuba. But the flooding, I think, is gonna be a huge story, Dan, across the Bahamas, especially southeastern Bahamas there with how, I mean, they're already getting rain there right now, and they're going to be feeling impacts from this for the next 24 to 36 hours. So that's my thoughts on it. I don't know if Steve or Mellissa or Rob has any additional thoughts on it, but that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Joe, one thing I was going to point out was as it gets past Cuba and goes further north, it is going to hit a big old plume of dry air, which is also going to help tear it apart.
That's true. It will.
Yeah.
I was going to say it's got some shear going against it once it crosses Cuba.
Yeah, just looking at the water vapor imagery, there's like a whole plume of dry air going across Florida and into the Atlantic that it's going to hit.
It's going to push it all north and northeast because of the trough direction. It was fighting with that ridge that was in the Gulf, and then it took over, and that's why it's pushing it. Joey?
Yeah.
There was a smaller, weaker ridge that was north of Bay of Campeche, and had a pretty decent impact on the storm, and then the trough just overtook it.
Yeah. So here is I was trying to get what we were just kind of talking about. Here is all this dry air that you guys were just talking about. So basically, Dan, what we've got is we've got this whole plume here of dry air that's all moving off to the east at the base of the ridge. So it's kind of, rounding the base of the ridge, so to say. So as Mellissa kind of moves off to the northeast, guess what it's going to be met with? It's going to be met, but go right up against that dry air. So it's really going to probably start ingesting. We'll see a little bit of this kind of dry air start kind of entraining into, especially the southern and western
I
side
understand
of the
that.
storm.
I mean, that's the whole reason why it's taken a shift to the northeast. I get that.
Yeah.
I was just thinking with, topography wise, the two are very different. That
for sure.
Only the point I was really trying to make, but yeah.
I'm kind of curious too how much it speeds up here, say, by really even tomorrow night. Are we talking this thing moving at, 15, 16 miles per hour? Or, is it still going to be moving at, 12 miles per hour or 10 miles per hour? So how quickly does it get picked up by the trough and lofted off to the northeast? So
a plume of dry air moving through Florida, that's not something you hear every day.
Yeah, how's the weather down there, Rob?
It's dry. Dew points are at the low 60s, high 50s. It feels nice out.
Yeah, a lot better than 75, like you're probably used to there.
Tomorrow's
2 points in the low 60s and it's dry. You are from Florida.
Yep.
Yeah, it's dry. If it's quote unquote dry, if dew point's not 70,
Right.
or
exactly.
higher.
Yep.
Hey, I used to live in Colorado. The dew points got down to 20, so.
Yeah, no, I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, well, I was thinking, what do you mean cooler water at 81 degrees? Yeah, right.
Well, it's
Be hot
cooler
up
to a
here.
hurricane.
Right.
Put this back. Can't remember which band. No. What band was I on? There we go. Oh yeah. Huh, that's kind of interesting there. Look at that. It's like almost has like a little double eye, an eye, and a little kidney bean.
It's definitely getting more defined.
Yeah, no, it is. It is.
Reminds
For
me of the
sure.
pictures that we saw from the hurricane hunters earlier today.
Man, those were some
inside of the eye
awesome.
wall.
Those
That
were
was
some amazing pictures, weren't they? Like, I mean, you don't get that with every hurricane. It's amazing that we can capture those images for sure. For sure. So do you guys think we'll get another one here before the end of the hurricane season?
Possibly, maybe.
I mean, we still got
might.
still got one more month.
We could possibly get a late bloomer.
Yeah. Sometimes sometimes I feel like lately everyone talks about September being the peak of hurricane season. I don't know. I'd almost put my money more on October, I mean, so many of these big storms the last 10 years have been October babies,
Yeah, there's been a lot more over the last couple of years that have been in October that have been fairly decent.
Yeah. It's hard
Joe,
to.
I was just thinking the other day about how long Mellissa has been going on now. Like, we've been talking about Mellissa for a while now.
Yeah, it's been definitely a long time since it's been formed.
Well, part of that's because it's been dragging
Slow.
its feet too.
Oh,
So much of its life. It didn't know what it wanted to do. It's just like, I'm just gonna meander here for a few days, maybe a week.
It's taking baby
Well,
steps, all right.
It was like
Like
it
I
was
said,
drunk the
typical
other day and it kept
Mellissa.
bobbling.
Indecisive.
Has anyone heard from any of the chasers down there in Jamaica at all? Because I know Petrowski's down there and Clement's down there.
I haven't heard from either of them, but I knew they were down there. So
Yeah, I
Yeah.
haven't heard from any of them.
I haven't either.
I mean, I was watching earlier today. I was watching some of Max Velocity's live stream, and Paige was down there in Mandeville area, and I know Clement was down there. And I saw earlier. Was it Petromal had posted something about his chaotic day, trying to change it, having to change his location and all that. So I think tomorrow we'll probably start seeing a lot of stuff get posted. I think they're probably working on a lot of stuff this evening.
They may not have a way to broadcast it.
Yeah,
I was gonna say,
if you don't got
So-
Starlink and or a way to power your Starlink, yeah.
yeah, and plus, even with Starlink, like as high as those clouds were, it could have also interfered with the signal.
Yeah. I mean, even Fox Weather was having some issues today with their broadcast. Where they were at.
Yeah, I had seen that.
So,
Were you posting to YouTube?
was that what?
Were you streaming to YouTube?
No, I wasn't. I've been at work all day. I was watching some of the.
No, I
some
meant
of the-
now.
Oh yeah, now we are.
Oh, because I just lost the stream.
Yeah, so did I.
That's the only reason why I was asking.
Oh, hold up. Oh, here on Discord. Yeah, I was checking to see if there was any interesting thing in the world of X, any videos or anything like that.
I know I was watching TikTok, and there was some pretty good videos from, I guess, people who are living in Jamaica.
Yeah, that there looks like it got shredded.
Wow.
Yeah. Don't hand over your man. See the fear destruction, brother.
Man.
Right now.
Oh my
Tree
god.
still here though, more sitting right now there. Tree is still here though.
Yeah, it's almost, looks like a tornado kind of. That's one thing I haven't really heard a whole lot of is any sort of like embedded tornadoes or anything like that.
Yeah, I haven't either. They haven't even talked about tornadoes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't hear anything either.
Yeah, there's
How
Treasure
good
Beach.
is their radar network down there? I mean, is
Not
it possible that there was some there and just not able to be detected?
I honestly don't know, Dan. I know that It is.
No, just something to consider.
Yeah. I think they've
Their
got one at
radar.
the airport, and
Yeah.
I think there might be one other one, but they don't
Their
have a
radar
lot.
down there only shows reflectivity.
Yeah.
I was about to say, I don't think they have the
The
radar technology that we have. Yeah.
No.
mm-mm.
And the Doppler sits right on the coast. I think it was just south of where the eye landed.
Yeah,
I remember
one of them's
correctly.
over there at the air. One of them's over there at the airport next to Kingston. I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only one that I had really ever seen was the Kingston one. Because even yesterday when I was trying to get on their government website, I couldn't get through. I think I just
Yeah,
typed
they
it in.
had on Fox Weather and Weather Channel that hardly anybody could because it was just being overloaded with traffic.
Yeah, and they don't have the network infrastructure down there to really support that type of stuff. So, yeah.
What they said, one of the storms that hit that radar over at the airport, apparently it got shredded the last named storm that went through there, but I can't think of which storm it was.
I'm trying to think of Irma didn't go through there. I don't know.
Was it Burl? I don't know.
Barrel, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
I have to look it up. Our little eyes still working.
I think it
on
was
getting stuff
Beryl.
together. Wasn't that last year?
I believe
And
so. Don't
I
quote
think
me on
that one, I think that one reached Category 5 if I remember, but obviously didn't hit as Category 5. But because everyone was like, "Oh man, it's gonna be like, such a crazy year. We've already got our second storm of the year. Hit Category 5 status so early in the year." That's just in. You can kind of start seeing an eye starting to form again there. It's not completely cloud free, but it's definitely starting to form again. Pretty well defined there on the satellite loop. Looking at that. Wow. Yeah, you know what? I think with this coming across Cuba overnight tonight, I mean, to me, that's almost worse than going having impact, at least during the day, I would hate to be on the coast of Cuba tonight because you can't even really have any way to see any sort of a storm surge or anything like that. I mean, that just would be terrifying if you lived there along the coast where you're going to have the storm surge. I mean, obviously it's not going to be, quite as much as what we saw there in Jamaica, but still it's going to be quite a bit. Probably 8 to 10 feet, I'd imagine. They're still saying some places 16 plus inches of rain there. Makes sense with the mountains. But,
Joe,
And
one
all
thing
that
we haven't
water, all that water from those mountains are going to come down to the cities.
yeah, right along the coast. That's exactly
Yep.
right, Like this is kind of one thing that I'll do. What I was doing last night is kind of scoping out, what are some of the bigger cities there along the coast. You got Santiago. That's a pretty major city there. Look at that. Look at all these mountains here, kind of really surrounding it on the eastern side, the northern side, and the western side. So that's going to be one. And then even some of these smaller towns here, these are kind of some of the areas that I would be really concerned with the storm surge. Would be some of these coastal, low-lying coastal communities,
Yeah.
You got these houses here right on the coast, You got some rocks, which will help a little bit, try and break up some of the surge. But still, I would not want to be here on Highway 20 with this thing coming ashore.
Hey Joe, one thing we haven't mentioned is the rip current threat to the east coast of the U.S. because of Mellissa.
Yeah, there definitely is going to be a rip current threat. I thought where did I see some of that information? They were talking about that right here, rip currents. Yep. Really high from basically around Daytona Beach area, just north of Daytona Beach, all the way up through basically about Wilmington, and then the Outer Banks, which, that's been in the news a lot. The Outer Banks and all the coastal flooding that they've been having really the last, month. And there's still a ton of coastal flood warnings and flood advisories really all up and down this area. So having those rip currents there definitely gonna do quite a bit here by later this week, Thursday and Friday. So even probably into Saturday still. So not going to be a good week to go to the beach at all out there. Good point, Steve. Good point.
Yep.
But look at, Bermuda too. They've gotten it this year, and they're about to get another one here with Mellissa, on Thursday. So they're going to start feeling it on Thursday. It's supposed to go kind of north of the islands. Throw the track on there. And down here, it's still going to be 105 mile per hour hurricane there.
Oh, wow.
Southwest of Bermuda. That's Thursday. Then as it's passing to the north, still 100 mile per hour offshore. So, but it is, again, going to put them on the dirty side of the storm as it's coming by. So,
Joe, even if it...
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, even if it weakens after it passes Cuba, which it will, but it's still going to turn extra tropical. So even those areas above Cuba, they're still going to get a whole lot of rain.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And that's kind of what Dan was talking about. Even here, so it has it, this is tomorrow afternoon, 2 o'clock, still 115 mile per hour there, Dan, for you. Pretty much just south of Long Island and Crooked Island, some of these areas here.
Yeah, and all I was trying to point out with that is that they're a lot lower in elevation compared to Cuba or even Jamaica.
Yeah,
particularly with eastern Cuba being the more mountainous than the western side, but the Bahamas, those islands. You had a topography tool last night.
Yeah, this right
Be
here.
interesting to see. I bet if you hovered over there, not much of it's very high above sea level at all.
Yeah. No, a lot of it, we're talking 3 meters, 3, 4 meters, you know. Where's San Salvador? I'm curious what San Salvador, I think, is this guy up here. Yeah, here's San Salvador. Yeah, and they've got all these little lakes and ponds and stuff like that on some of these islands. San Salvador obviously is a fairly one of the more populated islands. I think they have a couple resorts out here too on San Salvador, if I remember correctly. But Long Island here, yeah, this is almost like just like a marshland out here. You got the airport right there. 12 feet above sea level. And like we were talking about last night, not only, even if the storm surge is, say, only 3 to 6 feet at that point, but if you have 10, 12-foot waves on top of that, that's going to cause a lot of flooding on a lot of these islands. So, on top of the rainfall that they could get, curious what the rainfall forecast is looking like for rain potential. San Salvador, we're looking at, 8 to 12 inches. That's nothing to sneeze at here. A good swath of 8 to 12 inches. Really 6 to 12 inches for a good portion here of the southeastern Bahamas as we go through through the day tomorrow into Thursday. So that's the thing. This is having impacts across numerous countries. It's not just one. So it's all of them, and then eventually getting out to Bermuda by the weekend. So, look at this. It's got it going all the way almost over to the UK here, still as an extra tropical storm on Sunday. So it's got a long ways to go. Might even get here into Europe. So shows you how powerful it is. Let's look at the wind history. See so we can see here. Oh, let's go back. Pretty much the western third of the island, Dan and Mellissa and Steve, had sustained hurricane force winds today. That's a good chunk that had those sustained hurricane force. It's interesting, though. You can literally see how it just went whoop, just stopped going west and northeast. Has been the movement. So
yeah, it's literally the track it took.
Yeah, it's so interesting how it's just kind of taking these random, almost like a zigzag. It's basically done a zigzag pattern, like boom, 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 boom. It's like cannot make up its mind.
Like, somebody said yesterday or the other day that it was drunk because it kept wobbling back and forth.
Yeah,
stalled there.
I heard that too. Like that's pretty accurate depiction. Yeah, so pretty much the hurricane force winds now are just about probably all off of Jamaica. Yes, I'm still trying to get a little symmetrical, but man, look at this convection on the western side. It's really really blown up here in the last hour.
The one thing that I was really impressed with Mellissa was the lightning density that she had in that eye was just insane.
Yeah, I saw a couple graphics about that.
Yeah, like I was watching one report said like 5 to 8 per minute, and I was like,
Wow.
out of all the hurricanes that I've watched, that I've chased, I can't ever remember that ever happening.
Yeah, you don't really get that in, really I'd say the strongest 5% is where you'll get those lightning strikes like that
Yeah.
in the eye wall. It's not as common as you would think. So,
Yeah, because I mean, honestly, I can only think of a couple of hurricanes that I've been on that, had lightning and it wasn't anything like that.
yeah, what was the most recent one you were on? I'm curious.
Hold on, I'm thinking. I think it was Ian was the last time I got to go chase.
Okay, that was a big one for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, my last I would say intense chase would have been Dorian, but I did chase Helene. I just didn't get far enough south or far enough north on it. So where I was at, the impacts weren't. I mean, we had hurricane conditions, but it wasn't like down along the immediate coast. I pretty much just did it almost like a last minute chase is really kind of what it turned out to be. And it was my first hurricane chase with my wife, so I didn't want to get into too much gnarly stuff. So, but yeah. If this had been, a week ago, and I would have been able to, I would have. I've always wanted to do at least one, in a sense, international hurricane chase, just to, experience it.
The stage
Yeah, I
doesn't
have.
get pretty much any bigger than that.
Yeah.
I always wanted to chase my namesake hurricane, but that did not happen.
Yeah. In
And it
this
will
case,
never happen after she's retired.
yeah. And in this case, like if you had chased it, you would have had to be prepared to be stuck there for a couple weeks probably.
Oh, definitely.
I think some of the documentaries and stuff like that will come out about this in a couple of years will be really breathtaking and terrifying. So
Yeah, definitely. So while I was at work, I was trying to explain to a bunch of people who are not into weather like I am and like y'all are. So they were like, well, what would be like the two hurricanes put together that would equal Melissa? And I was like, I thought about it. I was like, it would be like Hurricane Helene and putting Harvey with Helene is the best way I could probably describe it.
yeah, I was saying really the last couple of days, to me it's like definitely has a sense of Helene with it
Yes.
for sure. And I like the Harvey comparison too because of how slow it was moving. And remember, I just will never forget how Harvey just crawled along the Texas coast, and just the feet of rain, yeah, that it just dumped.
Just dumped.
Yeah.
That reminds me of Harvey is the rain.
Yeah. It would be interesting to see what rain totals can be derived from this across parts of Jamaica and all of that.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna. It didn't seem to me like this one had as much precipitation, at least not widespread precipitation. The other ones did.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering
higher of a wind event.
I was wondering how she'll compare to like Harvey, since that's what she kind of reminded me as far as like that creepy, slow dump rain everywhere.
Yeah, and it's just like we were talking about earlier with the radar situation. We really just don't have a way to even get an estimate of that data at all. So, but I'm hoping some way that they were able to get some measurements and stuff like that, some sort of rain gauges and stuff like that out there. But I don't think, I don't know. Probably up in some of the mountainous areas, there may have been a couple feet, but I don't know if we're going to necessarily get totals where it was 40, 50 inches from this. So, but I think the in a sense the saving grace was once it got to land, the speed increased. Whereas like with Harvey, it just kept in a sense getting slower the closer it got to land. So this actually, made it across Jamaica in really less than 12 hours, which is good.
Yeah, I'm glad that she decided to speed up.
And Joe, if I remember correctly, didn't Harvey? I know it was going slow, but didn't it just come to almost a complete stop once it hit land? Like it just stalled there for a
Yes.
few days, didn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
It stopped and basically spun over Houston and the eastern part of Texas.
Beaumont, that area.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like, when is this thing going to move? And yeah, it was really a solid 48 hours basically, where it was moving at like a mile an hour or less.
Yeah.
It was insane. It's like, okay, we need some sort of steering current anytime now. Because it was just feeding all that Gulf moisture in. There's nothing to stop it. And those training thunderstorms just were relentless. Completely relentless. So, but I think, I don't know. I don't ever think there will be a way to get a full story of what took place with this down there, sadly. And I don't even know how well, the Jamaican government is going to be able to, get an accurate death toll and stuff like that, sadly, as well, just because of how remote some areas are and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Especially there.
Yeah, they don't have the same network and the resources that a lot of other places have.
Yeah, like the search and rescue and stuff like that, So it's gonna be a slow response,
Just getting to them is going to be a challenge.
Yeah. I think tomorrow is going to be a big day trying to really get out and assess, what sort of infrastructure do we have to work with,
Yeah. Because I'm sure those airports took damage too.
Yeah. The good news is, at least for Kingston, I haven't heard, what the surge has been like. But obviously the winds there in Kingston were not as bad as forecasted, which was good. I mean, I saw live streams out of there still coming through at 3:00 this afternoon, which was encouraging. So, obviously some places still had some kind of power. So I don't think it's a case where 100% of the island is completely without power and stuff like that. So we'll have to see how quickly they can kind of get some of that restored in the next week or so, especially in some of like the bigger cities like Kingston. Hopefully they'll be able to kind of get some of that back online here within a week, depending on what infrastructure damage there is.
That's what I was thinking. It looked to me like Kingston should be relatively okay compared to the rest of the island.
Yeah, I think the western half of the island is going to be a much different story than the eastern part of the island, which is thankfully where Kingston is.
Yeah.
So I was actually just trying to see if there was any reports on the surge, but in that little research I just did, there's an article saying that the Cajun Navy is making plans to go to Jamaica and start helping.
Yeah, no. I think there were some other, not just them, but I know that there were some other groups, I believe, that basically have been on standby. And a lot of these groups, I'm sure, are just waiting for the storm to be far enough away where they can, try and figure out a way down there,
Oh yeah, definitely.
So
I mean, I do have to say that is the one thing, Harvey did bring is there are a lot more search and rescue and recovery groups that are, manned by people and not just, government
by
entities
government.
and stuff
Yeah,
like
exactly.
that.
A lot more private search and rescue and recovery groups for sure. I mean, you even think of, stuff like, the, Y'all Squad and different even groups like that and stuff, and Team Dominator, search and rescue. You didn't have any of that 15 years ago.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Cajun Navy and other groups out there. So, but
what is the Cajun Navy?
So the Cajun Navy was originally formed during right after Hurricane Katrina. It started in Louisiana because there was a bunch of people with a bunch of boats who wanted to help with Hurricane Katrina rescue and recovery. And when Harvey happened, it became this bigger thing where it's no longer just like Louisiana. You've got people who are volunteers for the Cajun Navy throughout the United States.
Yeah. It really became a national thing. Like you can.
That's awesome. I just never heard of it before.
Yeah, you can even go on their website, and basically apply to join.
Yeah.
And there's different areas that they have available and stuff like that. So whether it's and they kind of ask you. I've been on there before. It's like, what resources do you have? What like skill set do you have? What area can you serve in and stuff like that. So
it's a really, really amazing group. I used to help them out a lot. And I mean, there's things like, just getting information for people that need help, or, scrolling on whatever social media site, if you see somebody that's needing help, you get their information and then you give it back. And they do search and recovery. They do relief efforts, all kinds of stuff.
No, that makes a lot more sense, because my mind automatically just kind of initially went to like this like Cuban U-boats or something. Like, what is the Cajun Navy? No, okay, that makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah. Well, we are now just about 55 miles away from second landfall, looks like. So, I mean, based on the speed it's going, we're probably talking somewhere around, I'd say 5 a.m. maybe, 6 a.m. So, another 7-8 hours for it to be over water. It's decent. Its eye is definitely starting to look better.
They're a lot further south, but what time is sunrise down there? It's got to be close.
Oh, that's a good question. Let's see here. see if we can find out what time sunrise is in Guantanamo Bay.
Because if it's that late, that might be near sunrise down there.
It's gonna be at about 7 a.m.
Yeah. Okay. But I mean, that's full sunrise. Your first light is going to
first
be
light will
much
be
before
about
that.
6:15.
Yeah, that's
So,
okay.
yeah, not too shabby.
So one of the news stations is actually reporting that there is a hospital that was in St. Elizabeth Parish that had 50 patients in it. The roof was damaged and blowing off.
Oh, I saw pictures of that. Yeah, terrible.
And St. Elizabeth is apparently like underwater.
St. Elizabeth Parish.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember which parish that is. That the one where
I want to say it's near was it Black River?
Black River. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm pretty sure that one was St. Elizabeth. I was on Google Maps a ton yesterday, trying to figure out all these parish names and where what is. Yeah, St. Elizabeth Parish. Yeah, that's this one right here. Yeah. I wonder how there's a just west here of Black River. Yeah. There's a big sandals resort over there. I'm kind of curious how that ended up faring, cuz that
Ooh.
got slammed by the eye wall. The kind of the northwestern side of the eye wall. So that was something else I was seeing earlier today too. And then I know, Montego Bay is another big tourist area. I don't know if they have a resort.
I think they do. Because I know Montego Bay is a pretty big resort town.
Yeah, it's got some, looks like. I wonder how their
I think I remember seeing
airports
somebody
fared. I wonder how their airports fared right here on the coast. At least, Dan, unlike the one down in Kingston, this one's actually on the mainland and not on a barrier island.
Yeah, very true.
I don't know whose idea it was to build Kingston's airport on its own little barrier island.
Well, I mean, you think about it, they've never had a Cat 5 before.
We built an entire city below sea level, so
there is that.
Yeah.
There is that. You have a point there, Dan. You have a good point.
You shouldn't have to look up to see boats pass.
Fair point. Well, it's going to be a long night here for the folks in Cuba and Jamaica. Man, tonight's going to be, no power. You still got the winds howling out there. Probably tropical storm force, I'm sure. 50, 60 mile per hour winds still going on there across a lot of the island and stuff like that. Maybe even some higher gusts still across part of the mountains there on the northern side. So, phew. Rough day. Real rough day.
So I do not know the exact amount, but from what I'm looking at, there's most of the streets in Kingston are flooded.
Oh, yeah, I believe it. Because you have to think and that was one thing I felt like that some of the live streams that I had watched earlier this afternoon, you were seeing the street flooding kind of take place fairly quickly after landfall.
Yeah.
Even in portions of central Jamaica. I'm trying to remember the name of the town. Why am I blanking on it? Like Manville, and over here towards Spanish Town, I saw a couple live stream stuff like that, and you were seeing the water. You actually could see the water rising and covering the streets. You saw a couple cars actually, underwater where you wouldn't even be able to open the door. And that all took place probably within 3-4 hours, where it was like, oh, we've got some ponding on the streets too. Oh, this car is now
That's
completely
more than I
underwater.
would have thought.
So,
How far is it from Kingston to where official landfall is? Just out of curiosity.
let's see here. Let's go Kingston to New Hope. Well, let's do it this way. Let's go back.
Oh yeah, that would be driving miles as the crow flies.
As the crow flies. As the crow flies. Kingston over here to New Hope. About 75 miles.
That's a fair amount of difference to have that much flooding that far away from landfall, isn't it? Maybe not. I don't follow hurricanes as much as you guys do, but that just seems like quite a big distance.
Yeah, but you also have to think. You have to think about how big that hurricane was in general.
Yeah.
It was like what 400 miles is what I heard.
Something like that across.
True.
I mean, even now we're still. Let's see how big this guy is. We're looking. We'll go from here. I mean, still probably close to 300. If you go west east, 300, 330. But if you went, north south, you're well over probably 400 now. So, but the main core of the storm is probably closer to 300, and Jamaica is only 161 miles, I think, across, something like that.
146 mile length, and then 22 to 51 miles wide.
Yeah. So
I just looked that up. I was curious.
I was like, that was nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was really curious. I was like, well,
let's see. Yeah, that eye's definitely gotten a little bit better organized for sure. We should be having the 11 p.m. advisory coming out here shortly. We'll see what that has to say. Curious if it's gonna come back up at all. Because 8 p.m. had at 125 and 950. So I'm curious if it will be higher at all for 11 p.m. Which is in what? 8 minutes? 8 minutes till we get that 11 p.m. advisory.
I think for me, it's just, and probably a lot of others, you think about, the storm, landfall and how big is the eye, and that's one number. But then that's only like a small part of the whole problem. I think it's easy to maybe lose track of how big this thing is as far as impacts for rain and everything else. So I guess looking at it from that perspective, it's not that, far-fetched that they had that much flooding, considering the overall size of the whole hurricane and not just the
center or the hurricane, the hurricane force wind area, so to say.
Yeah, because news and weather station, channels and stuff like that, of course they spend a majority of their time on, where's landfall and, the biggest impacts, because, that's what people are interested in. And it's easy to lose track that, well, it actually impacts quite a bit more than that.
Yeah, because I mean, you also have to think about too. I mean, anywhere you get a foot of rain, and then you throw some even 50, 60 mile per hour winds on top of that, what's gonna happen to most trees? They're
Oh
gonna
yeah.
come down. You know, like I'm sure that just in general, the tree damage across Jamaica, there's probably not a town anywhere in Jamaica that didn't have some major tree damage. You know,
Well, not just that, but with the mountains that they do have, you know, that wind all gets funneled, so it actually speeds up.
yeah, as you go up the mountains, exactly. So that kind of, again, like Helene, like I remember when I drove up to North Carolina and like seeing just the, in a sense, deforestation that took place up there. And you're like, wow, like from down in the valley as you're going up and across some of these mountains, and every single tree, it just is flattened,
Oh
you
yeah,
know?
isn't that the one where Jesse and I were on Zella with you, literally looking at Google Maps to see how close the tree line was to the road, some of the roads that you were looking at taking, just
Yeah.
to get a better probability of what might be open.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wasn't that the one?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is, you know, has it all has an impact, you know. I mean, nearly so far, and this obviously isn't over. So far, nearly probably 3 million, close to 3 million people have been impacted by this in some way, shape, or form. You know,
How many years ago was Helene? Or what year was that? Can you remember?
Helene
Last year.
was last year.
No, then it wasn't
You,
Helene.
you weren't thinking about Helene. You're thinking about I wonder. It wasn't Dorian. Was it Dorian? Maybe it was Dorian. The one that I was on with. Was it the one that I was that I did with Nick? Or was it
I
the
don't
Florida
remember.
one?
No, I don't think it was the Florida one because we were looking at roads and trying to figure out what might be passable yet and what might not be. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't
It
remember
was
them.
probably like back
But
in 2017, 2018, one of those, because those were the years that I did the most. Those 2 years.
yeah. The point is that yes, tree damage can be quite significant and make huge impacts.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Well, you know, and then you've also got Haiti, who has been hit by all that rain, and they already had devastation from earthquakes and stuff
Oh
like that.
yeah. Hades, and they're still taking on water right now. You know,
Yeah.
right here around Port-au-Prince, east of Port-au-Prince. You know, they're getting some more rain and stuff like that. So yeah,
And a lot of them are in like makeshift
yeah,
houses.
they're literally basically in, you know, mud huts. You know, let's be honest. It's
Yeah. You think Jamaica is poor and not safe? Try Port-au-Prince.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like there's nothing, man. Doesn't take much to destroy the little that is there. So yeah. But we've got a long road of recovery ahead with this one for sure. This is definitely the 2025 storm of hurricane season 2025. You know, everyone was like, "Oh, you know, it really hasn't been that bad of a year." Yeah, Bermuda's gotten, you know, hit a couple times, you know, but overall this whole season up until now, you know, hasn't been very impactful as far as hurricane season goes. But this again just reminds us that it literally, and you know, wasn't the United States, but still literally only takes one storm to make a horrible season, you know? And this again just goes to remind us that it just took one.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter where in the line of storms it is, whether it's the A storm or the M storm. It only takes one.
That is very true.
Just shows us how little control we have, over it. And we just do what we can to help prepare, help get the word out ahead of time, and then come in afterwards and help pick up the pieces. That's what we can do. Help with the recovery however we can, whether that's, financially or being there, praying for people, So hopefully this will be something that there will be some good come out of in some way, shape, or form. So there always is. Humanity kind of tends to come together around these big natural disasters a lot of times, I feel like.
Yeah, I think so too.
So, all right, let's see if our 11 p.m. advisory here has come out, and then I'm probably going to wrap up this live stream.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. 11 p.m. advisory. We've got it. Here's what they're saying. Let's get the, see if we got the highlights. All right, so it is stronger. Winds are up from 125 to 130 miles per hour. Pressures remain the same, still at 950. And movement has increased slightly, and it's also changed now to due northeast at 9 miles per hour. So not northeast, it's now northeast at 9. So that's gone up. And the discussion, this is what they're saying as of the 11 p.m. advisory. Melissa's passage over Jamaica this afternoon and evening caused a significant amount of weakening. Pressure rose nearly 60 millibars, and maximum wind decreased about 50 knots based on data collected by hurricane hunters earlier this evening. However, now that the core is pulling away from Jamaica, satellite images and radar data from Cuba show that the eye is becoming better defined again, and the eye wall is gaining symmetry. Mellissa appears to be on a strengthening trend, and based on a combination of the earlier aircraft data and the latest satellite intensity estimates, the initial wind speed has been raised to 115 knots. Inner core appears larger than it was earlier today. Hurricane has turned to the northeast and is now moving at 8 knots. Trough is expected to amplify, which we were talking about earlier, and shift eastward across the southeast U.S. during the next few days. This feature combined with a subtropical ridge over the central Atlantic should cause Mellissa to accelerate northeastward through the end of the week. And that should take the core of Mellissa over eastern Cuba overnight tonight, and then across portions of the southeast and central Bahamas on the day tomorrow. And Mellissa will likely be in the vicinity of Bermuda by late Thursday. Models in good agreement, but there is some long track timing spread. The National Hurricane Center track forecast is similar to the previous one and near a blend of the HCCA and the Google DeepMind ensemble. It is expected to continue to strengthen until it reaches Cuba here in a few hours, and is expected to make landfall there as a very dangerous major hurricane. After Mellissa moves inland, the passage over the rugged inland terrain combined with a gradual increase in the vertical wind shear and intrusions of dry air should cause the hurricane to gradually weaken throughout the period. That being said, it is still going to be a very powerful hurricane when it moves through the Bahamas and near Bermuda. Models are suggesting that Mellissa should complete extratropical transition by the 72-hour mark when it is forecast to cross the northern wall of the Gulf Stream. So, Jamaica, it's pulling away. Deadly hazards remain, including obviously many downed power lines across the areas, flooded roadways and areas. They're telling folks make sure that your generators are properly ventilated and placed at least 20 feet away from doors, windows, and any garages to avoid carbon monoxide poisoning. If you're cleaning up storm damage, be careful when using chainsaws and power tools. Drink water to avoid heat exhaustion, because I'm sure it is hot and humid down there. Eastern
definitely.
Cuba, life-threatening storm surge going to be ongoing. Flash flooding and landslides likely. Extremely damaging hurricane winds are likely through tomorrow morning. So if you're in Eastern Cuba, you need to be seeking your safe shelter at this time through the first half of the day, really tomorrow till it moves offshore. And then southeastern and the central Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos Islands, that hurricane conditions and that storm surge are expected tomorrow, especially as we get into the afternoon. Any preparations in those areas need to be completed by tonight. Tropical storm conditions are expected tomorrow, and then Bermuda, we're going to see it move in Thursday and Thursday night. Hurricane watch is in effect for Bermuda. So they've got it at 130 knots, 12 hours. It's over Cuba, down to 115 knots, 24 hours over the Bahamas, down to 105 miles per hour. So I don't think it's going to intensify much more. It's kind of running out of time as it's coming here to Cuba. And yeah, I don't think it's going to get any stronger than 130, which is what it got up to now. So rough night and overnight ahead for Cuba, and really should start seeing some improving conditions for Jamaica here by daybreak tomorrow. Really should start seeing those conditions improve, but still going to be, especially along the northern side of the island, still going to be pretty rough next 6 hours or so. So, Dan, Mellissa, thank you for joining. Great having you guys on the live stream tonight. Getting to hang out with you guys, really enjoyed it, and it was good also having Rob and Steve on as well.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll remember this one for a while.
Yeah, for sure. We will definitely look back on this and remember 2025. Mellissa there in Jamaica and Cuba. So thanks everyone for joining us tonight here on our live stream. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you'll get notified when we do go live here. Always great getting to have our team with us for these live streams. If you're interested in joining our team, check out our website, extremeweathervideos.com. Fill out the form. We'd love to have you guys join us. You can connect with us here on YouTube, Facebook. We've got a Discord. So be sure to check that out. And we will hopefully be back again here live tomorrow at some point in time to give you guys more updates. Stay safe, everyone. Have a good evening, and we'll catch you guys on our next live stream.